Hey friends, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and today I'm going to show you a really fun card using the Earthen Textures bundle. So I really just used the die from this bundle for this little portion here. I also used, and I cannot think of the name, I can never remember the name of these. I think it's Essentials Nested Dies for the die cut here. We mostly use the little, I guess like feathery, what do you call them, decorative stick. I don't even know what you want to call them, but I use these. It's a really fun card that we're going to use with some heat embossing and some Stampin' blend, not Stampin' blends, heat embossing and some blending brush technique. So I'll show you that in a minute, but I just wanted to show you there are some new things available in the online exclusives. This actually began today. Is it today? Yesterday. Today's Wednesday. No, today. It's March 5th. I'm a little behind. So these are some of the new stamp sets that you can get. I like this one mostly because it had really, saw a couple really cute samples. So you can stamp the outline and then the inside, which I thought would be a lot of fun to be able to do. But I really liked some of the sentiments that went along with it. So we'll see. You know, I'm not the greatest on photopolymer. So that aside, this one was very reminiscent of some stamp set we had many years ago. And I ended up putting flowers on the end of it, which I thought was really cool. Maybe a little bit of a dated technique, but I thought it was pretty cool. So I really also liked the fonts, the different fonts for these. So thought this was really cute. If you have a bride or a daughter-in-law or a daughter coming up, you can make some save the date cards. I also got the textured timber. We did a card many years ago that actually used a piece of like a slice, if you will, of wood grain and then put a little heart in it for Valentine's Day. So this would have been cool, but you could do this for any occasion, really. You could do it with a heart, maybe if you have someone with an anniversary coming up, but I think these will be great for backgrounds. And then I also, during the end of celebration, got two things. I'll show you the botanical layer stamp set, which I had my eye on this when it first came out. I'm not really quite sure why I didn't buy it, but this is in the annual catalog. It's really cool. So these three are in the online exclusive sections, which I'll show you in a minute. This is in the annual catalog. And then there's another thing in the annual catalog. And again, this video isn't to show you these things, but I figured I might as well go through it. This is another item that I got free during celebration. It's the Robot Buddies Kids Card Kit. And I actually got this for the Rainbow Stamper because I thought he might like to maybe make some of these kind of cards for his friends for birthdays or whatever coming up. Oh, you actually get 2 ink spots. I didn't know. That's pretty cool. So pumpkin and Bermuda. You do get a stamp set. They give you a block. I got some googly eyes, which are pretty cool. So I definitely think they've done a better job of stepping up their kits, which I really like. So looks like Bermuda Bay, which ironically is a retired color. So if you still like that one, you could get it in this. Bermuda Bay did retire, very sadly. I still have my Bermuda Bay because that's how much I love that color. I have my full-size spot, but so Bermuda Bay, and it makes these different card designs. I think you can do 3 of each, but they have different things you can interchange them with. And again, you do get 2 spots, so that's pretty cool. So I'm going to let him create these, and then when he finishes, I will show you. Another thing that I got a refill of are the craft note cards and envelopes. This also does a DIY box, so this is what it comes in. And I think I have since given away my other box, but it actually comes with a box and a lid, and then there are 20 note cards, 20 envelopes, and this is the one where I put the little pieces of DSP on it. So something really fun that you can do. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I just want to show you really quickly if I can get this to pop up with the online exclusives. Oh, there went my pile behind me. It's what happens when you put stuff on a slippery surface. And I apologize, I didn't even see these Magnolia Mood dies. This is actually dies and a stamp set, which is kind of fun. They have fun patterns, 2 embossing folders. You have the Magnolia dies, the Zinnia dies, which I thought were cute, but I'm going to tell you what sold me on the Zinnia set was the paper. So here is the Sweetly Scripted. So if you were to use the Zinnias for that, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me go back. So we have that. There is some glimmer paper. the Circled in Nature. There's a Birthday Sparkle Kit, the Filled with Fun bundle, which is adorable. I really was torn. I was thinking of getting a Latte Love, but I didn't get it just yet. I kind of was trying to keep minimal. Love these dots. This paper, I bought this from my friend Rhonda because she is amazing, and we were going to start making some cards with this. This is just the most bright and fun paper, I have to say, I think I've seen in years. I love the colors for this. And the nice part about this is when you do get this paper, and I don't know if I've showed you this before, so I'm just going to show you really quickly. It tells you all of the colors that go along with it, which is pretty cool. So it has a list: Berry Burst, Blackberry Bliss, Flirty Flamingo, Highland Heather, Lemon Lime Twist, Lemon Lolly, Melon Mambo, Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, Petal Pink, Pumpkin Pine, Real Red. Now, one thing to keep note of, these colors typically will be something in the online exclusives. They don't know how long they'll last. So kind of a good barometer is if this is going to stay around, you'll know what colors are going to go with it. So make sure that you have these colors to use with it. So if you would have, maybe you wanted to get a, the ink pads now for Craft White, the white doesn't come with it. So you could get this in a refill and make your own pad if you wanted to. I know some time ago there was also, I had a couple of these where you could do different pads and you could make a stripe. So if you had stripes of color, so you can also get these large, uninked pads because they come uninked. Keep the white. I know maybe it defeats the purpose, but if you're multitasking. I've also seen people who have gotten Memento ink and they've refilled this so they have a super large black. So just kind of keep that in mind if that's something you want to do. We do still sell the spots, and you could buy re-inkers and just make your own, so you'd have like little Stampin' spots. But this paper, which I will be using this month for club, is super, super pretty. So I'm really excited to do that. Oh, but I forgot to put the robot guys away. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to make this card. It's pretty simple. This actually was inspired by a card that I recently found when I was putting all of my stuff in order. In case you guys do or don't follow me on other social media or YouTube, etc. What I do is I've gone through and put all of my cards, I put them all in sleeves, and Stampin' Up! Does carry these sleeves. And these are really good for, and I do reuse them. So you see, they get plenty of use over and over again. But they sell these. I'll show you what they're called. They're clear medium envelopes. 102619 is the number. They come 50 in a pack, so they do last a really long time. But basically, I use these when we go to card club just to keep them from getting ripped up while they're moved around from party to party. I keep all of my finished cards in these as well, and I actually went through and sorted all of them so they are actually individually put together into groups that make sense. So that took a lot of effort, but when I was doing that, I found a card that I made probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought, well, I really loved the technique, because what you do is you put white embossing powder, heat set it, and then you use ink colors to blend onto it. So what I did is I ended up going with, and I want to try to find these smaller because it'll be a little bit easier to show you. But the smaller brushes, because these are so small, will make it a little bit simpler. But if you don't have the small brushes, you totally can use the larger brushes. So I do have 3 different ones. Let's see. So we're going to need a bluer one, and then the purple you can kind of use for either thing. You are going to need white embossing powder. This is Stampin' Up's white embossing powder. Now, I will tell you that they currently do not have this available because they had it in a pack of 5, and it is going to come back in the new annual catalog, which will be coming out very shortly. But there was some sort of issue with the supply. I think they're probably going to not group them in 5s. I'm hoping they'll go back to having just like white, black, whatever. But if you don't happen to have this, another really nice embossing powder that I like a lot, it's really good for detail, is Brutus Monroe Alabaster White. It's super white. If you happen to have Stampin' Up! Though, certainly use that. If you have another company that you like instead, you know, knock yourself out, whatever works. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin by using a piece of basic black cardstock. And I'm going to show you, just in case maybe you're new and you've never seen this before, I'm going to show you. This is a full sheet of cardstock. And in order to use this, you have to do one of 2 things. You're either going to cut it in half crossways, so squirt and cut, or you could cut it in half long ways, okay? So this is a half of a sheet of cardstock. There would be another half there, or you could do it long ways. So I'm going to show you what you do. You grab your trimmer, and I'm going to score this in half at 5.5. And just in case, so we do have 2 blades. The dark blade cuts, the light blade scores. So I'm just going to score it, and I'm going to take it. You can see there's a little fold there. And then I'm going to rotate it so it is at 4 1/4. And then you'll cut it off, and you'll have 2 long, so these are hot dogs, 2 hot dog card bases. If you were to cut them this way, these are 2 hamburgers because they're short and wide. So hot dog is long and skinny, hamburger is short and wide. But either way, I love a barbecue, so any of those things are invited. Okay, so the other thing that I did for this is I used the lavender paper, and I'll show you which pieces I used. This is a really, really pretty DSP as well. So I just picked kind of a simple pattern that really wouldn't compete. And more so, the reason for this is just to cover up the stems. So this one's probably about maybe 2 inches-ish. Let's see. Let's do a little eyeballing here. Yeah, it's about 2 inches. So this piece measures 4 inches across. Well, it should measure 4 across. I might have made it a little bit wider. No, actually, I'm sorry. It's going to measure 4 1/4. I fibbed. And we're going to cut this at 2 because we do want it to cover the entire base. That's probably just a little bit bigger than it needs to be. So I'm going to trim this down to 1 3/4. That's probably still just a teeny bit taller, but we'll keep it like that. So you can get a lot of cards out of this depending on how you cut your paper. This is another really, really pretty paper that we have in the current annual catalog. So you're obviously going to need an inside panel for this because it's black, so you're going to need something to cover up, and you're going to need another scrap for the sentiment. So just to start, what we're going to do, I'm going to move this off to the side, and this, and I apologize, I know with having this glass mat, sometimes you see the little glare of the light, so I hope that's tolerable for you to watch. So to begin, we're going to be using Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink, and what that does is it helps the embossing powder have something to stick to. But first, the other thing you need to do is you need to cut down on the static. So we have a kit now called the Embossing Basics Kit. It's a little tray. The tray is somewhat similar, I'll say, to this, where it catches the embossing powder and then you can funnel it back into that. Personally, I always use a coffee filter because I can reuse it over and over. It doesn't really matter what, and it's typically not very staticky. So that has a tray. It has a little paintbrush for you to slide the stuff in, and it has this bag. So I use a coffee filter that I use over and over again, but I do need an anti-static powder tool. So this is the Embossing Buddy, but you can certainly get one from anywhere else. So what you're going to do is you're going to rub this over top of your black cardstock. This is also really cool if you ever want to do something for a teacher and you're looking to do maybe like a chalkboard background. The Embossing Buddy with black is really helpful. So I'm going to open my white embossing powder just to have it sitting here and ready. And then my Versamark ink. I don't know why I have 2. I only need 1. So then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your stamps. So if you can see, what I did for this one is I kind of brought the main image. I brought these 2 in. The other sample that I had, I added in multiples, and it kind of was almost a little too much. So I'm going to try to stick with the basic ones for this. So I have this, and oh, this is the one I added in. And because these are very fine, they were almost too fine to pick up the powder. So I'm actually not going to use those. I'm going to grab this one. Just give me 1 second. I have to grab a block. Okay. Put the, nope, that's not going to fit on there. I thought it would, but nope. Put that on here. So these are the 2 we're going to use. And then we're going to also do sentiments, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to start with this one, because this was the one that was kind of front and center. And what you want to remember is wherever you end these, you kind of want them to be in the same spot, because your paper is going to cover up kind of the scraggly ends of the stems. And once I get started, you'll understand. The other thing is it is a little bit difficult to see some of these things where I stamp them until I add the powder. So you kind of just have to trust me that they're there. All right. I'm going to put one more down here low. Then I'm going to ink these. This is more of like our wispy. Sorry, I'm trying to decide where I want to put these. Okay, so those are all stamped. Again, you're going to have to take my word for it for just a moment. Put the cover on this. Then I'm going to pick up my white embossing powder, and I'm going to just sprinkle it on top, like so. Lift it so it falls, kind of give it a tap. So you can see here, I have some, I probably didn't go down quite far enough with my embossing buddy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to flick against the back just to get the excess off. And then down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paintbrush and just scrape off the little excess pieces. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So before I heat this, I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat tool on. This is it, just in the background, so you're going to hear that. And you want it to heat up prior to heating because that's less that it will actually warp your cardstock. And then the funny part is here, if you look at this, this almost completely refills again. So the cool part about embossing powder is it kind of almost feels like it regenerates because you really don't need very much of it, which is nice because when you use it, it's almost like it's there again. It's kind of cool. All right, so, oh, here's one more that I missed. Not that this is probably going to matter because I'm sure it's going to cover up with the paper, but I'm just going to get rid of that. Anyway, okay. All right, so now what you're going to do, once you get your embossing or your heat tool nice and hot, is you're going to bring it and you're going to just move it around. So I'm going to try to speak up. I know this is a little bit loud. You're going to move it around over your cardstock. And what this is doing is it's heating the embossing powder and it's setting it. And you will notice that it's set when it becomes shiny white. Okay, so you do want to, prior to checking it, you want to give it a second because it is very hot. And I will tell you that if you touch this and it's still hot, it will stick to your finger and it is hot and it does hurt. So please be careful. Just give it like a second to cool down. And you can, I hope you can tell from the video, but you can see this is shiny now where the white is, which means it's set. So if you look at it kind of on an angle and you notice any part of it that's not really very shiny, like for example, right here, I'm going to reheat this because I must not have gotten it. If you notice any part that is not, you want to reheat it because if you just brush it, it actually will brush the powder off. So that's much better now. So now that this is finished, what I'm going to do is, because it does warp just a tiny bit from the heat, which is unfortunately just one of those things that you kind of have to accept. Excuse me. I'm just going to rescore this. Okay, so we kind of have all these scraggly stems down here. So now you can see what I mean. So there were these here, but you can't see because I covered them up. So that really is, and I am going to probably trim this down some because it's just a little too big. That is the purpose of the paper. So I'm going to trim this down. I had it down to 1 3/4. I'm going to trim it down to 1 1/2. Looks good. And that way we'll have, I do want to cover the bottom. I probably stamped just a little too low, but it's okay. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip. Okay, so here we have our card. We're going to glue this on, but before we do that, we actually want to add the ink. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. If you haven't seen me use this before, this is a, oh goodness, I can't think what it's called now. Give me a second. I'm thinking, I'm calculating. Waffle Flower makes a sticky mat. So this is a sticky mat. And basically what you can do is you stick your card to it. Now I'm going to open this just so it actually sticks flush. And what it does is it holds it in place while you work on it. Okay. So I'm going to start with the lightest color first, which for me would be Misty Moonlight. And I have my blue blending brush. I'm going to just pick up just a little bit of the ink and kind of just spread across. It doesn't really need to be in any specific area. And I also will tell you, it is going to transfer to the black, but it kind of sets in that you really won't see it quite as much. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think I used this. I think I used Blueberry Bushel because it was a little bit brighter. So since I am kind of in the same color family, I'm going to use, there we go. I'm going to stick with the blue, but so there's that. I don't want it to have too much. So Blueberry Bushel, and then you want to use Gorgeous Grape. And again, I'm starting with lighter to darker, or it's going to be Gorgeous Grape and Blackberry Bliss. So Gorgeous Grape, I'm just going to kind of go around. This will give it more of that like a purpley. And I'm going down, even though I'm probably going to cover some of this up. I can't really exactly tell what I covered, so I'm just going to hit some of it no matter what. Okay. And finally, and I'll show you these colors when we're finished, just in case you misheard or couldn't understand something I was saying. And then Blackberry Bliss. So the Blackberry Bliss kind of just really evens out the purple tone, gives like a little bit of depth to it. So it really just depends on what you want to do. So again, we have Blueberry Bushel, Gorgeous Grape, Blackberry Bliss, which on their own I think is a really nice color combo as well. Again, if you have the smaller bristles, the smaller brush, it's a little bit easier to get into the grooves a little better. So it really kind of just depends on what you want to do. So that was just the blue again. Okay, so then what we're going to do is just decide where we're going to cover this up. And gosh, I almost feel like I know this is going to cover, because when I put this little piece here, it's going to cover this up, and I kind of want to go a little higher. So I'm just going to leave it like that just for now. Okay. What I am going to do in the meantime though, is I'm going to pick this up and I'm just going to slide it to the side, because I do want to stamp my sentiment, and I want to show you how I did that. I did that also in Blackberry Bliss. Just going to wipe this off really quickly, and I just need to grab a scrap of white. Just grab any old something here. This looks big enough. Here we go. And for this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little bit of masking. So I really liked this. Thank you. You always know what to say, but I thought undo, I was kind of really wasn't in love with that. So I thought what I was going to do is kind of mix those two things together. And the way I'm going to do that is by masking off the undo. So I'm just going to grab a piece of washi. You could also use post-it note tape, but I really want to just get rid of the undo. So I'm kind of pressing this. So I'm just being careful because you have say and the Y is right there, and I don't want them to get mixed where I don't get something on. So again, Blackberry Bliss. And what I did is I used the smaller sentiment and then brought the larger one into it. So I'm just kind of lining this up so it's straightish. I'm going to ink this. I'm just going to take a peek at it. Should have brought my glasses with me because then I could have seen for sure. But, and then I'm taking this off and I'm going to just stamp this down. Okay, so we got a little bit of there where I messed up, but that's so negligible, especially for me stamping. I'm not worrying about it at all. And then I'm going to grab the thank you. Okay, move this over. And I apologize if my head's in your way. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Then we're going to pull out the... Look, I was right. I'm so proud of myself. The Nested Essentials, and I think this is the smaller, yeah. This is the third largest. Yep, and we're going to just put that right there. I probably stamped a little bit too far down, which, you know, I do these things sometimes, so I'm going to just kind of hope for the best. Just like that. So we're going to line this up. Might not be too far under, and I'm going to run this through my Big Shot. Oh, geez. Thought that was my coffee. I was getting a little worried there. Okay, and then one other thing I have, let's see, how bad does this look? I missed that little piece. Oh, look, I got it just barely in the nick, and I might end up moving this piece over here since I off-centered it in the incorrect direction. So let me grab this and I'll show you. Now this I already did put adhesive sheet onto the back of, and I'm going to just die cut this. Sorry, someone has shoved the poor dog's bone underneath my door and now he can't get it. He's losing his marbles. He probably knows he just had his bone there and somebody moved it. Someone who shall remain nameless. Okay, so here it is. It's a little lattice piece. And I'm going to use my little pokey. My friend Amy made this for me. Super handy and very pretty also. So I'm going to pull this out. And I just want to use just a little pokey just to get these other little pieces out. Okay, like so. There we go. And always helpful too to clean your dies out when you're finished using them, because it makes them cut a little bit better, just in case you weren't aware. All right, so now I'm going to take these two, I'm going to move them over, and I'm going to put my cover back on this so nothing accidentally gets stuck to it. This is a great invention. That honestly paired with the glass mat is probably one of my favorite tools. I say this, I won't say a lot because I don't think I gush over things a lot, but when there's something that's worth gushing over, I do it because I think sometimes people think maybe you're just saying stuff. But boy, there are some things that I just absolutely think are such a crafting game changer. And man, that is one of them. It really, really is. Did I cut that? Is that crooked? It looks just a teeniest bit crooked. All right, so I trimmed this down. I ended up trimming it significantly. So it kind of just depends. You may have to adjust it just depending on where you stamp. I should have stamped a little bit higher and I didn't. So we're going to put this down here because, again, this piece is going to cover. So I don't really need it to be too low. So if you can catch my drift here, I'll show you what I mean. Since this piece is going to be here and cover, and we can trim this off if we need to. That's why I'm going to put it like that. But I almost want to put it to this side because I don't want to cut off this piece from the lattice. Yeah. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on this side. So this has adhesive sheet on it. So I'm just going to peel this off. Makes it super easy. I'm just lining it up to the edge and pressing it. I'm just going to use the back of my finger. I'm going to use my snips, trim it down a little, just like so, and then we're going to go to this side. So once again, I'm going to just give this a press. I want to show you one other thing you can do. So if you notice, this is a little bit wonky. You can see the angle of it is a little bit up. If you take just this and you put it in between, this is just the regular magnetic plate and the two things, as if I were to cut something. If you take this and just run it through your die cut machine, it actually will re-flatten things out for you. So I'm going to show you. There's nothing special. It's just, oops, I forgot that piece of paper. It's just basically pressure putting those two things through, and look how much flatter it is. That one piece isn't sticking up like it was. So if you ever have that problem, you can also run it through with just a little piece of printer paper. Kind of gives it a little bit extra thickness. So if you ever have like a wonky piece from heat embossing, that's a really, really, really good idea. And I'm going to make sure these are facing the correct direction when I glue this piece of paper on. Okay. And again, because I have some extra coverage with that one piece that I'm putting on, I'm not worrying about this little piece down here at the bottom. This piece is going to go right over here, and I think I'm going to trim just this little bit off. So this one you can either put on with dimensionals or flat. I'm going to just put it flat just for the sake of making this a little bit quicker, because I know I yapped through a couple parts of this video trying to give you some info. Oh, you know what? I'm going to make sure my U is all the way on there. It's just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to snip this. Hopefully I didn't overestimate my Y. Is it still on there? Yep. It is a little crooked though. Holy moly. See if I can pull him up. Yeah. Let me just re-glue, because that's a little crooked and that definitely will drive me bonkers. I mean, there's things you can get away with and there's things where you have to... Let's just say I should have my glasses on. Okay, that's better. All right, I am going to have to trim just a hair off of here. Hopefully I won't trim off my Y. Yeah, my Y is completely off. Boy, who would have thought you would have so much trouble with the sentiment, Rach? Jiminy Christmas. That's up. Okay, and then I just have just a little bit to trim here. Ooh, thank goodness. That was a little bit more ridiculous than it needed to be. Okay, and for the final touch of this card, what we're going to do, and this is pretty simple. So white gel pen, you can see I have these little dots here. And what I'm doing is I'm going to just add little dots of 3. The white gel pen is kind of funny because once you use it more, the flow of the ink becomes a little better. And you'll actually end up with better dots. But I'm just making dots in little groups of 3. Some of them, I will say one other thing, this is a jelly roll. There are different ones that write differently depending on what you have. Also, we do, you can see this one's a little bit juicier. Also, we do have different variations of what we get on here because of the ink that we put down that is not necessarily dry. So I kind of like adding these little dots. Just gives like a little bit of visual interest. I think that's pretty good. And then finally, this one is still pretty full, so I'm not quite sure why that's so dry. The other thing is I have added, and I want to show you these. I got this idea from Patty Bennett, and I thought it was really a genius idea. So what she did is she bought these on Amazon. They're passport envelopes. So that's what this little sleeve is. I kept this just in case. And what she does is she puts her embellishments, kind of like embellishments. Now hers, she does label, but you put your embellishments. Some of these obviously are very retired. A couple of them don't fit because I haven't trimmed them up yet. But you put your embellishments in them. It does make them easier to find. I really, really have to say. I have to do a couple of these because I still haven't completely finished them. But, so these are the pearls, which are really cute. These are actually on back order. They will be coming back into stock. But these are the purple shimmer adhesive. I think that's what they're called. Purple fine shimmer gems. So I just took these off. They do fit in here. Some of them you may or may not have to trim up just a little bit to get them to go in. And then I'm going to use, I have a jewel picker. I've been trying to get my hands on a crystal katana. If anybody has one of those and you love it, let me know, because I really want to buy one. But also the ones I keep seeing, I'm not really sure. Is there like a specific one? Because I know there's ones for nails. Are they the same? Is a crystal katana the same as something else? Because I saw there's also like an Amazon version. So I just put these 3 gems on here. But they look like they will pick up anything, which is why I want to get one, because these jewel pickers kind of tend to run out of stick after a while. And I'm not quite sure what the crystal katana has that's different, but they seem like they last forever. And I know a lot of people that do those like with nails or whatever, when they put on like jewels and stuff on people's nails. Obviously my nails don't look very spectacular, so don't judge, but they use those. So if you have one and you've ever used it, please let me know what you think about it. I'd be really curious to know. And then finally, I'm going to do one more thing, just because I have to put this on the inside, because I find that when I don't do it, and then I'm kicking myself, because I promised myself some time ago that I was going to do it on every card when I made it, and then I must have either slacked off or got lazy or something. So 4 by 5 1/4. I'm not going to put an inside sentiment on this, but at least the inside will be finished. So if like a need were to come up and I need to give somebody a card today that has these purple gems on it, at least the inside will be ready. Now on the other one, I'll show you what I did. And I didn't love it, but I was just kind of fooling around. I actually used this, so this sideways, and I put 2 of them on there, and then I kind of just blended it off a little bit. So if that's something that you think you would want to do, and again, this one also was popped up, so lots of different variations that you can do. And I hope that you have found at least a couple of these ideas useful. I want to thank you so very much for joining me. If you'd like to get any of those new online exclusives, they are in my store right now currently. I will put the links and everything below. I'll put the measurements. This one did end up being, I'll tell you what the difference is between these 2 pieces of DSP. This one I think was an inch, yeah, 1 3/4. And this one ended up being about an inch, a little bit shy of 1.5 inches, because I put these down so much lower. So it kind of just really depends on what your final card looks like on what you actually do. But I hope that you found some information here that maybe you've never done before or used, and I hope that you will make a card like this today. It's really fun, and I think probably the most fun part of this is this particular stamp set online. It's very earth toned, and I thought it was a really cool stamp set, but I just did not love the color. So that's when I came up with these purples and blue combination, and I think that it worked out, I personally think, a little bit more flattering to the stamp set versus the original colors. I mean, I know earthen things are supposed to be earth colors, but for me, it just didn't do enough for the stamp set, which is why I ended up going with purple and blues. But if you have any other good color combinations you think would work for this, or any other suggestions on a video that you'd like to see me make, please feel free to leave me a comment here on YouTube. I love to get and read your comments. I have so many people that leave me just like the nicest line sometimes. Sometimes they'll just find something old and leave me a new comment, which brings it back up, which also makes me happy, because it's not like you're just watching stuff for new things. You're watching stuff for every day. So thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this card. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you haven't already, please make sure you give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe. You can turn on the notifications. And better yet, if you have someone you think you would like to share this video with, all you have to do is copy the link and send it directly to them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.